Hey y'all, thanks for joining me. I'm going to give you an update on what's going on with the American Orthodox, the Society of St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco, and regarding the UOC persecution that they've been protesting and fighting for the end of that. We're going to go right into the article now. The St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco Society has accused Congressmen Joe Wilson and Don Bacon of double standards in drafting a religious freedom bill concerning Ukraine. If you remember from my previous videos, Joe Wilson and Don Bacon, you should know those names if you've been following this whole series on the UOC persecution. So on April 24th in Washington, an official statement was released by the St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco Society regarding the bill introduced in the U.S. Congress. It's H.R. 8433 S-4379. It's called the Countering Russia's War Against Faith Act. I have an issue with that because it's a wide brush being used to paint Russia in a certain manner. I mean, obviously there's always propaganda involved. It's just historically America is always wanting to be an enemy of Russia. And I don't think that's even true. I think that's terrible to say, Russia's war against faith. I think there's plenty of faithful Russians in Russia. Sure, there might be atheists, people who are minimal worshipers, but to sit there and say they have a war against the faith is patently false. It is. It's just ridiculous, and it's all about making sure that Russia is the bad guy. As an Orthodox Christian, I don't believe Russia is a bad guy. I believe that my brothers and sisters in Russia are my brothers and sisters in Christ, and the same for the Ukrainian Orthodox. So let me go on. In its statement, the Society emphasizes that it welcomes any serious efforts to document and punish violations of religious freedom, yet, quote, cannot ignore the glaring omission at the heart of this legislation and the statement surrounding it. The statement is signed by Government Affairs Director Catherine Whiteford. She's part of the Society of St. John. Quote, Representatives John Wilson and Don Bacon continue to remain silent in the face of well-documented persecution of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church by the government in Kiev. The document says. The authors recall that UOC clergy have been detained and forcibly mobilized, churches have been seized, and legislation adopted in Ukraine is directly aimed at the country's largest Orthodox confession under allegations of quote-unquote collaboration. These facts, the statement notes, have been documented by a number of authoritative international human rights organizations. They also have forced clergy, including monks, into the wars, into the war zones. They conscript them. They've also kicked nuns out of their monastery. Now they are now praying outside of their monastery. Lots of things going on, people. And of course, Metropolitan Arseny is still in house arrest. And Metropolitan Theodosi is back. He was back in a court case recently, so it's nonstop. It has not stopped. Just wanted to make sure you understood that. Particular attention is given to the figure of 600 churches destroyed during the war, frequently cited by American lawmakers. The Society stresses that most of these churches belong to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the very church that is now being stigmatized and pressured by Ukrainian authorities and their allies in Washington. Quote, to condemn their destruction at the hands of one party while justifying or ignoring their persecution by another is not moral clarity. It is hypocrisy, the statement declares. Yes, I still do not believe, and it's just what I think, it's just my feelings. So, I haven't seen real big proof of this, but I don't believe the Russian troops are trying to target Orthodox churches in Ukraine. At the same time, I really think overall the Ukrainian troops are not trying to target Orthodox churches in their own backyard or even in Russia. I think there accidents happen, and maybe there are a few that people that targets that, but I just don't think it's the majority. I don't think it's really the case. But this is what they like to put forth, that Russia is anti-faith and killing, all these churches, ruining them. I just don't buy it. Sorry. The Society calls on the United States to apply consistent standards, oh, imagine that, in matters of religious freedom to both adversaries and allies alike, warning that any other approach, quote, undermines the very principles we claim to defend, end quote. Yes. So another quote here, religious freedom is not a geopolitical tool. It is a universal right rooted in the dignity of the human person, having been formed in the image of God himself, the statement underscores. In conclusion, the St. John of Shanghai Society urged Congressmen Wilson, Bacon, and their colleagues to consider the full scope of religious persecution in Ukraine, quote, without exception, without favoritism, and without political convenience, end quote. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it? But, again, these congressmen or congresspeople and just basically America has a biased view against Russia, and always has. If you look at the history since post-World War II, yeah, it's been like that. We constantly have to have somebody as our competitor. We can't just get along with people and try to work through and do trade deals and be neighbors, friendly. No, we can't do that because they want to have all the power. Where this is going, but it's important. What I really love about this article is that the Society of St. John, the American Orthodox, they're not letting this slip by. They are calling it out, and they're saying, no, if you're going to make this bill fair and 100% about religious freedom, then you need to include the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. It's the canonical church. So no matter what you think about either one, Ukraine or Russia, this is about religious freedom, and that includes everyone who is being persecuted in the church. Thanks so much for watching, for following my channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like my videos if you like them. It's good for my algorithms. Also, you can share my videos if you think they're worth sharing. If you would like to make a commitment for my channel, you can become a member by clicking the join button underneath the video. I have 2 tiers, the lighted candle tier for $2.99 and the coffee hour Java, that's a cup of coffee, $4.99 a month. And then if you would like to just sporadically support my channel monetarily, you can buy me a cup of coffee. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for all your support, no matter what way you are supporting. I am so grateful and so thankful.